Twitter will be forming a content moderation council with widely diverse viewpoints. I'm sure they're going to have a lot of poor people on the council.
Yeah, no kidding.
But somebody on food stamps on the council.
Yeah, stick by your principles and bring somebody on that thinks that billionaires shouldn't exist, that all their money should be appropriated and divided out in poor communities.
Yeah, put Greta Thunberg on the council just so I can listen to her voice.
She's just yelling at Elon all day. How dare you?
How dare you?
I heard the revolution had started, so I got my hammer, got my hat, ready to go, son. Let's do this.
You need a sickle for the other hand.
Yeah, I'm officially changed my political orientation. That's why I went and voted today as an anarcho-papist. They hadn't heard of that particular political party yet, but they will, buddy. You definitely will.
If there's one person who is going to instigate radical change in the country, like electoral politics is not working, obviously. Revolution's not going to happen anytime soon. Sorry, Che, the spirit of Che that lives in that hat.
A hat I bought from Amazon.
It's this guy who's going to save us. Look at this fucking guy. He definitely plays Magic the Gathering, first of all.
Oh, yeah. I think I've seen him a couple times. Yeah, I mean, he looks like most of the people we grew up with. Like, when I think of an average guy, this is who I think of.
Looks like Dust in the Wind or somebody. Like, it looks...
Dude, I was thinking that. Seriously, I was going to throw it out, but I was like, I didn't know if...
He had a band in high school, but it didn't really go so well. Yeah. And he lost direction in life. Started fantasizing about Nancy Pelosi for some reason. he just kind of, this is the kind of guy that just gets blown with whatever wind is the strongest in his area. He was apparently he was like making hemp jewelry. He was into like the big hippie phase, and he's like one of those people. Like he takes on the cloak and the identity of whoever happens to be around him at that particular time. Then I'm sure he was hanging out with all the San Francisco hippies, and then they probably quit talking to him because he was fucking annoying. So he gets online and finds Reddit, finds r/Tim Pool. And then just goes down that rabbit hole. Okay. Started reading Glenn Greenwald on Substack, and he got radicalized.
Jesus. Could you imagine being radicalized by Substack?
I mean, the right is more successful at their radicalization efforts in the United States than the left. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely... we need to pick it up. Yeah, they're doing a great job.
We're losing on both fronts. I don't have too much to say about it. It's just, it's a funny situation. I feel bad for Nancy Pelosi's husband, I guess. He's rich as fuck, though, so I don't really feel that bad for him. That's what he gets.
I don't care at all. Yeah, fuck them. Fuck them both.
You get for marrying fucking Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
Weren't they the ones making millions off of insider trading?
Yeah, she always does that crap. She was the one that recently just blocked. They were... I don't know. I think it was like the Squad or one of them like younger progressive caucuses. They tried to push some legislation through to get, it was like completely toothless too, but it was to get stock trading done by Congress people and their direct family members, I guess spouses, and probably not even kids, probably just spouses. But yeah, it was Nancy that just completely shut that shit down. Like she was not having it. Some reporter asked her, like, why are you not on board with this? There's a lot of mistrust in the U.S. Of elected representatives because you all seem to be making a lot of money doing these stock trades based on information that only you all know, based on legislation that you're passing, and, you're able to trade on that privileged position that you have. This is obviously, it's causing a lot of mistrust. Why don't you support legislation to kind of bring back that faith of the American people and to put a stop to this type of crap because it looks so bad? And she started talking about free markets. Well, it's a free market and we can do what we want. It's just completely nonsensical.
All hail the free market. It's a religion for them, man. They talk about meritocracy on the one hand, but on the other hand, she wants her kids to be rich as fuck and not have earned it. That's what she wants, because she's not going to do anything with that money. What the fuck is she going to do with it? Wallpaper the inside of her coffin with it?
I don't know. I always say this, but of course I'm broke as fuck. So, who am I to say anything? But at a certain point, just
just enjoy it, man. Just enjoy it. Just
once you have enough money to cryogenically freeze your body, the rest is just gravy, man.
I don't know. She might just be trying to live forever. Maybe you hit like so many billions, and then you get those Elon Musk hormones and injections or whatever he's taking that just
virgin blood
make you a superhuman. Yeah. Well, adrenochrome.
Oh, we had 150 crushed in fucking South Korea in this stampede, dude. Did you see this story?
Yeah, my daughter is really big into like South Korean culture, South Korean artwork, and South Korean music, and I've explicitly banned her from going to any K-pop concerts.
Well, this wasn't.
Is that what it was?
No, it was just like it was like 4th Street Live. There was just so many fucking South Koreans, and one person probably freaked out. One person was probably on Robitussin, probably freaked the fuck out, and it just caused this huge stampede. 150 people were crushed to death by other by other K-pop kids. First of all, this has never happened in North Korea. Just saying.
Say what you will about North Korea. They're not having... I mean, to be fair, like, they're all so malnourished they couldn't build the strength. God, that's a fear of mine. I kind of got a little... From my work accident, I've got this kind of fear of being slowly crushed to death.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was not this year, but last year when I went to see Metallica. It was getting a little rough there. Like, people were pushing in way too freaking hard. And this was, so when I went to see them, that was right after some rapper, I think at South by Southwest, like a year and a half ago. And I don't know any of them anyways, but he went up on stage and there was basically like a big surge towards the stage wherever he was playing. And I think like 7 or 8 people died. They got crushed to death in the crowd.
Like fucking antelope.
Yeah. But anyways, so I'm always, whenever I'm in a big crowd, I'm always cognizant of that. Like, I need to know where I'm at, stay away from large crowds of people, and if a popular band comes on, make sure I have an easy escape route.
Yeah, after that Las Vegas shooting, man, that was crazy. It was like fucking Kid Rock or somebody playing, and the sniper just started popping off.
Something like that.
You don't remember that one?
No, I remember. I don't know who was playing. Yeah, it was some country music concert, I guess.
Yeah.
Fucking Kid Rock. Dude, I decided, because I'm a bit of a masochist, I decided to listen to Bill Maher's new podcast, Club Random. It was like yesterday, I think. I was going and picking up some rocks. Not the fun kind. Just rocks
boring,
for like
boring rocks.
Boring rocks. Yeah, so I was listening he was doing a podcast with Kid Rock. And
I bet he has a lot to say.
Kid Rock?
Yeah. The ball with the ball guy?
Yeah. Oh, he definitely, he had a lot to say. Bill Maher is going down, and he's taking a really hard road down the right-wing grifter route.
Yeah, well, it's paved with fucking diamonds and gold.
It was all, I've stayed right here. It's the left that's gone crazy. I don't know who I'm trying to do a Bill Maher impression. I don't know who these people are, but it's just crazy. People don't listen to sense.
Yeah, the left wing has really gone radical since the days of Eugene Debs, hasn't it?
I don't know if I've talked to you about this before. I think I did. We did touch on it a little bit, but I've started developing like this theory. How do I put this? There's this perception of the left in kind of mainstream media, like a lot of the big people that are the kind of the drivers of the national narrative. And they seem to all be saying that this is what the left is. It's all just, Gen Z, woke, angry that they have to work an 8-hour day, just, like that, all that kind of shit. And I guess like the traditional principles of the left, like fair working conditions, equitable distribution of profits made from different industries, different companies, taking care of the sick, providing access to healthcare, providing access to education, all that crap. Nobody seems to realize like that's what the left is. And I think it's because the people talking about it, like those things, they're not relevant to them. If you're Bill Maher, safe working conditions, access to healthcare, I'm sure like they understand it.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, like they understand it's there, but it's not prescient to them.
Yeah, you're taking the charitable view that these people actually believe what they say, which is debatable, Yeah,
I think a lot of them do. Some of them don't. Some of them are kind of guided down that primrose path to fascism, but I think a lot of them, for the most part, believe what they're saying. Like Joe Rogan, I think Joe Rogan believes what he's saying. I think he's just been force-fed dog shit by Ben Shapiro so much that his brain's rotted.
Yeah, at the very heart of it, the left is about property rights. You know, it is about workers having more say over what happens to the profits from their labor, their fucking labor, not the capitalists' labor. That's at the very heart of it. People who don't understand it because they're rich as fuck, and that's the point you're making, I think, right?
Yeah. It doesn't matter to them. Whereas, I guess, the other part, the woke crap. I mean, I guess that kind of matters to them. It's like the shiny thing. It's like a little sprinkle on top of the left, but it's not the core of what the left is about. But it's the thing that catches your eye, and it catches their eye because they're not living a daily existence where they can see this is what the left is really about. This is what's prescient to most people. Yeah, you said like with Rogan, Rogan talking about, he would vote for DeSantis because DeSantis is for freedom, whatever that means. Well, I mean, he kind of says what that means. DeSantis is for freedom because DeSantis doesn't want to close down the bars because of COVID. That's freedom for Joe. That's in Joe's world. That's what's important because he can go do that. But of course, Joe's not, working a dead end job where he's getting fucked over by his boss, and Joe isn't having to cut back on meals to pay for health care. And
let me ask you a question. If all you had to do was endorse Ron DeSantis, say you're pretty popular, the podcast starts popping off, everybody loves you, knows your name. All you have to do, use your platform, endorse Ron DeSantis, and you could be best friends with Elon Musk. I mean, you can't tell me you wouldn't fucking consider that one very strongly. He could be your buddy. You could live neighbor mansions next to each other in Texas, on the spaceship to Mars if the Earth starts getting too hot, No,
I don't see any value. Now, if there were some way, I don't know how amenable Elon Musk is to being hustled out of his money. If there was some way I could do that, then yeah, but I don't know.
Get him hooked on crack.
He doesn't. Yeah. Look, man. Look. I'm gonna go pick up an 8-ball for us. It's gonna cost $5,000.
I can fill up this kitchen sink you're holding with crack rocks.
No, I'm gonna go every time he wants an 8-ball. Give me 5,000 an 8-ball all day long.
There is. The Elon Musk takeover of Twitter has begun. I do want to read just very briefly from the Times article on this. If Twitter becomes the go-to platform for the Knucklehead Brigade, advertisers will run, not walk. Bob Hoffman, the advertising industry veteran behind the Ad Contrarian newsletter, said in an email. Mr. Musk, who told advertisers this week that he aimed to make Twitter, quote, the most respected advertising platform in the world, added to that sentiment on Friday. He made it clear that he would not immediately upend Twitter's content moderation policies and would form a council to deliberate speech questions. Until then, he said, he would not reinstate the accounts of users who had broken the platform's rules. Twitter will be forming a content moderation council with widely diverse viewpoints, he said in a tweet. No major content decisions or account reinstatements will happen before that council convenes. Evan Greer, the director of the digital advocacy group Fight for the Future, said that a council was a good idea, but that Mr. Musk would ultimately have control over content decisions. So they said he hadn't reinstated anybody, but I thought he reinstated Trump already, like immediately.
No, there has been somebody, I think every hour, there's a new account posing as Donald Trump that like gives a thumbs up. It's like, thanks for letting me back, Elon. And then it immediately gets deleted. Because I don't know why, my Twitter notifications got turned on somehow. And like, a couple times a day, I'll see that. Elon, fake Trump. Yeah, thanking Elon again. It seems like it's just going to be a slightly worse version of what it already is. I mean, the Content Moderation Council, isn't that what they already do?
How does that not sound Orwellian? The Misinformation Governance Board is Orwellian, but what is it called? The Content Moderation Council. And why am I not the head of this fucking council, first of all?
I guess your views aren't diverse enough in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to have a lot of poor people on the fucking council.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, hey, Elon, why don't you diversify our way a little bit?
Put somebody on food stamps on the council.
Yeah, stick by your principles and bring somebody on that thinks that billionaires shouldn't exist, that all their money should be appropriated and divided out in poor communities.
Yeah, put Greta Thunberg on the council just so I can listen to her voice.
She's just yelling at Elon all day. How dare you?
How dare you?
So this is John Cleese of Monty Python fame. I couldn't figure out where this was. This is either from Fawlty Towers or Flying Circus. I think this is from Fawlty Towers. But anyways.
We've heard a lot about extremism recently, a nastier, harsher atmosphere everywhere, more abuse and bother boy behavior, less friendliness and tolerance and respect for opponents. All right, but What we never hear about extremism is its advantages. Well, the biggest advantage of extremism is that it makes you feel good, because it provides you with enemies. Let me explain. The great thing about having enemies is that you can pretend that all the badness in the whole world is in your enemies, and all the goodness in the whole world is in you. Attractive, isn't it? So, if you have a lot of anger and resentment in you anyway, and you therefore enjoy abusing people, then you can pretend that you're only doing it because these enemies of yours are such very bad persons. And that if it wasn't for them, you'd actually be good-natured and courteous and rational all the time. So, if you want to feel good, become an extremist. Okay. Now you have a choice. If you join the hard left, they'll give you their list of authorized enemies. Almost all kinds of authority, especially the police, the city, Americans, judges, multinational corporations, public schools, furriers, newspaper owners, fox hunters, generals, class traitors, and, of course, moderates. Or, if you'd rather be extreme hard right, no problem, fine, you still get a lovely list of enemies, only they're different ones. Noisy minority groups, unions, Russia, weirdos, demonstrators, welfare sponges, meddlesome clergy, peaceniks, the BBC, strikers, social workers, communists, and of course, moderates. And upstart actors. Now, once you're armed with one of these super lists of enemies, you can be as nasty as you like and yet feel your behaviors morally justified. So you can strut around abusing people and telling them you could...
God damn, he's such a legend.
Yeah, there's something brilliant about just breaking down something to its bare bones, just like the essence of it, you know? That's talent, man.
Yeah, and doing it in a really funny way. Like, he was not misrepresenting it all. Like, it was pretty spot on.
Contrite and snarky English fucking humor, man. I love it.
I've went down the primrose path to hell once again. I got on the Tim Pool subreddit, and it's been pretty wild the past few days, ever since this DePape attack against Paul Pelosi. DePape.
Is it DePape? Is it supposed to be DePape?
I think it's DePape. This was right after the attack happened. This was the what was coming up on r/Temple. Immediately, everyone on there, they found some links to him being, I guess, on the left at some point in his life, or left aligned. I don't know. What would you call that? A hippie that doesn't really seem to have any, I guess, ideological affiliation. It's more of like a social and...
Definitely not a Tim Pool fan.
Yeah, certainly not initially. Now, he became one, for sure, but there was a time in his life when he would have been left aligned.
So they instantly, the very first thing they did was try to, like, disavow him as a right-winger.
So the attack happens. Obviously, it's against a prominent target of right-wing vitriol, Nancy Pelosi. His online, I don't know, what would you call it? His online presence, what he'd been saying online,
his posts.
His posts in the preceding months had been very right-wing adjacent. You know, he's like talking about Jimmy Dore videos and shit like that. Anti-vax crap.
Nancy Pelosi.
Actually, if you want to go back to that, some of the funniest stuff is actually going down and reading through the comments on this.
Okay.
So when I initially seen this, I actually got put in my place on this particular thread. I seen this, and knowing r/Temple how I do, I immediately assumed it was completely made up. So I don't know.
That's not made up?
This is not made up. Yeah. So this is the original post. Basically, I guess this is him on the far left behind the kid with the green jacket. Yeah, but he was kind of a hippie. He was hanging out in I guess they call it the Castro district, the Castro neighborhood of San Francisco. He was like apparently aligned with some nudist group there. He would sell like hemp jewelry, shit like that. So you go down through all the comments on it, and it's just everybody, you know, hey, I told you so. You know, this conspiracy, can't wait for this to be scrubbed from the front page of everything. A lot of talk on here about this being right before the election to try to, you know, drum up votes for the Democrats, I guess is a false flag.
Yeah, this is exactly the sort of psyop the Democrats would use to discredit the far left. Unfortunately, I don't think that was the case here. He was a right-winger, I think, right?
Yeah, well, he fell down the right-wing conspiratorial animus rabbit hole. You know, I guess he
he seemed to be a pretty mentally unstable guy. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, he just kind of seemed to blow with whichever wind was strongest around him at that time. You know, he was hanging out in San Francisco, so he kind of become a hippie, got into that whole identity. And then recently, it seemed like over the past year or so, he went down the right-wing rabbit hole and was following the kind of the typical online right-wing personalities and getting into all these
But this is exactly the sort of people that watch fucking Tim Pool's show.
Yeah, it is the dumbest of the dumb. Okay, so this one has been deleted.
I should have screenshotted it.
Okay, so this is the beginning of the conspiracy that DePepe was actually Paul Pelosi's gay lover. Pelosi's hammer attacker turns out to be a gay prostitute, totally a MAGA Republican. Don't be surprised when the jail comes out. Anyway, so they have a list of the calls, and then there was a lot of inference from Paul Pelosi calling up the dispatcher and referring to him as his friend, and that this was David, my friend, but I don't know him. And they're, well, how can he be his friend? And he knows his name, but he doesn't know him. And also, I think there was just an incorrect report early on from a third party that said that there was another man there that opened the door for the police when the police come, and then they seen Paul Pelosi and David DePepe having a hammer duel.
Was it a maul? Was it like a battle hammer, or was it just a normal sort of like tack hammer?
I hope so. They come in there like Robert Baratheon with his war hammer, all decked out completely in armor.
Like Gimli.
Just like Gimli. Gimli, son of Gloin.
I'm very fast over short distances.
Once again, the full comment thread for all this is just complete denial that the pervasive, antagonistic, threatening language used by the right wing for years and years, just complete denial that could have anything to do with somebody actually going and attacking one of the people that language is used against, you know. And
yeah, because that might present some legal liability issues for somebody like fucking Tim Pool or Jimmy Dore.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why they would do it, but like all the people that follow these they've all completely bought into it. And there's an interesting thread behind this that I guess they see political identities as like an identity, like that's something that you are. So this guy, because in the past he lived in a house that had a gay pride flag on it, because he had made statements like 4 years ago that he was in support of Black Lives Matter, and he lived with some nudists for a little bit, like that's who he is, and it's an unchanging aspect of his identity, and nothing could ever square the circle. Like he could never be turned right at any point in time. And I don't know. Like I just don't get it. Like obviously people change their political views over time. It seemed very obvious based on what he did, what he was saying in the months leading up to what he did, that he'd fallen down the right-wing rabbit hole like a lot of people have. But that seems to be a big contributing factor in certainly the Tim Pool fans' denial of any culpability by the right towards his action or any association he had with the right.
I don't know. I think they have a point, man. If anybody who is like a nudist, there's something fucking seriously wrong with them. Like attractive people don't go to nudist colonies.
Well, I would just ask that nobody come to my house unannounced during the summer months. Because I've been known to walk around outside naked, so.
Dude, there's so many ticks and mosquitoes out there. No fucking way, dude.
Mosquitoes don't bother me, and then when you're naked, you can see the ticks.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So, yeah. Win-win. Yes, I don't know, maybe there is something wrong with me, but I do enjoy that. It's one of the pleasures of living out here surrounded by woods all the way around. I can walk outside naked. I don't give a fuck. I enjoy it. Go out there swinging my hammer around, building some shit.
No way, dude. Feel so exposed. You're gonna hit your fucking dick with a hammer.
You got to try it sometime. It's liberating. I mean, I understand why anyone would enjoy it. It really is fun.
The first thing Adam and Eve did was construct clothes.
Yeah, and of course the gay prostitute angle of this narrative that got picked up on the right was initially proposed. Well, I guess not initially proposed, but initially made popular by none other than Elon Musk. Musk wrote to Clinton at 8:15 Sunday, linking to a story published on a right-wing website called the Santa Monica Observer that questioned the circumstances of the attack on Pelosi. According to an archived version of the story, quote, "There is a tiny possibility there might be more to the story than meets the eye," he wrote. The website was no longer accessible. Musk deleted the tweets. This is like 2 days after.
Wait, go back up.
This is like 2 days after he buys Twitter, and he's tweeting out fake news.
The fact checkers probably pulled his tweet down.
Oh, could you imagine?
Go back up for a sec. There's a tiny possibility there might be more to this story than meets the eye, he wrote. I mean, you could put anything there. You could put like the Holocaust, a picture of the Holocaust there. There might be a tiny more to the story than meets the eye here.
Yeah, that's what he writes, and he links a story from this completely debunked right-wing website that gives a story that DePape was a gay prostitute that Paul Pelosi had met at some bar because Nancy was out of town, obviously. So Pelosi's going out drunk, meets this gay prostitute, brings him back. They're getting high, and this turns into just a lover's quarrel. And that the whole idea that he was there asking, where's Nancy, with the hammer, that was all made up afterwards to just gin up support for the upcoming election.
Yeah, they're just trying to generate support from the gay bashing community, I guess, whatever you want to call it. The bigots. You got to get the bigot, rally the bigot support.
You got to get that bigot vote. That's a big,
it's a big demographic.
Big demographic.
Lula da Silva won the election, man.
I heard that. Yeah. I think that election was also stolen.
So does
from Bolsonaro
and his kids. Need to get Mike Lindell down there. He'll straighten things out.
Get on it, Mike. Yeah, so that was actually something else I seen on r/Tim Pool. We have the evidence now that somebody was trying to vote for Bolsonaro and they're pushing the button and it does not work. The vote button will not work if you're trying to vote for Bolsonaro. So sorry, guys, and the left finally got its shit together, and you're no longer allowed to vote for fascists.
Biden came out and supported. Who knows? He's not in control of the intelligence services, though. They're not gonna. I don't think the fucking CIA gives two shits about what Biden says.
Well, yeah, I guess he come out and he recognized Lula to prevent like the people on the right from trying to usurp the election and then get, I guess, official like recognition from other nations.
It's to head off Bolsonaro trying something and then expecting U.S. support, which is how it normally goes in Latin America. People just try shit and then the U.S. fucking supports him militarily and economically, like they did in Venezuela.
We've kind of like officially recognized a guy that did not win the election in Venezuela, and still to this day recognize, who is that guy?
Some asshole. There was an attempted coup in Venezuela. There was a successful coup in Bolivia that was overturned. r/Tim Pool. And we're looking at the voting button thing you were just talking about here.
Yeah.
The green button to confirm the choice for Bolsonaro does not work for some reason.
Yeah. Same playbook that they used in the U.S. is what I hear. Had some more of those Venezuelan Dominion voting machines, I'm assuming.
Was that a TikTok video? I believe everything on TikTok. According to Reuters, Bibi Netanyahu is leading polls in Israel. All the right-wing Jews just went to Israel. Now they all just chill there.
Well, Kanye will be happy.
Yeah, how about the fucking public meltdown of Kanye this week also? What a crazy week, dude.
I don't know. I would say it's sad.
It's
hilarious.
I don't fucking care. It's fucking hilarious, dude.
It's hilarious because he's rich, and I don't care about rich people.
Yes, exactly.
If it were
very wealthy.
If it were anybody else, I would be upset. I'd be like, hey, this person's having some serious mental health issues. It's kind of sick that it's being put on display as a laughing stock for the entire country. But yeah, he's got money, so fuck him.
Exactly. Fuck him for one. For two, he's blaming the fucking Jews for like exploiting him. Meanwhile, like the right wingers who he's been talking to are the ones exploiting him currently. They've ruined his fucking life and his career. Candace Owens and all these motherfuckers.
Oh, they have. They put him down this right-wing path, and he just took it to its natural conclusion.
Yeah, they're using him. They're using him up.
Like, yeah, they turned him in that direction. All right, Kanye, let's start going this way. And they just never told him, like, you have to stop at a certain point, or at least publicly stop at a certain point. Like, we can get to the Jewish question shit amongst friends, but...
Did you see him on Friedman's podcast? On Lex Friedman's podcast? Did you see him?
Oh, yeah.
I know you watched that show.
Yeah.
It was so cringy, it was hard to watch, man.
I thought Lex did like I said,
pussy
I don't care.
He's a pussy. Lex is a pussy, dude.
He's a bit of a pussy. He's a kind soul, and he was doing what a kind soul would do, which is try to talk some sense into him. Yeah. And Kanye was just not fucking having it. Most
people would be dragging more out of Kanye. He's like trying to push it back in. Tell me more about the Holocaust, Kanye.
He asked him, like a really valid question.
Let him come on the Exploding Star podcast, see what happens.
Do you have any friends? Do you have any people that can call you on your bullshit?
Yeah. Jews are weird. They could be aliens, man. They don't really make sense, do they?
No, they definitely look like reptilians a little bit.
There's not that many of them, but they're like, I think there was like 20 million or something worldwide. Like, not that many really, but they're fucking everywhere. They have distinct look, and 14.8 million worldwide. That's crazy. That's not that many, dude.
No, not at all.
0.2% of the population worldwide, it says. They do seem quite prominent in popular culture, just generally, just everywhere. It's interesting. I don't know where they come from. They come from Israel? Why aren't they black?
It's a good question.
That's the Middle East, ain't it? I mean,
I don't think a lot of the Jews...
Egypt, they should be fucking black.
I don't think a lot of the white Jews today have exclusive genealogical roots to the Holy Land area. Like, a lot of those people are really Eastern Europeans.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just Slavic
Russians
peoples or Caucasian, like actually Caucasian from the Caucasus. Oh, there's a reason why, I forget what it was. The story of like why so much of the Jewish diaspora moved up to that region, and basically like that's kind of where it took off again. There was a large migration of Jews to Europe broadly. During the Middle Ages, there was a big crackdown on Jewish people. That's why like so many of them kind of immigrated to Eastern Europe, because it was, I guess, same region, but there wasn't the animus against them didn't exist there. I guess like the general othering, it was kind of this alien race, this alien culture, religion that was easy for the monarchies of the time. I'm thinking like 1200s to 1400s in Germany and England. It was like it's easy for them to blame the problems of the society on them. And then also there was kind of like the root of a lot of the Jewish conspiracy stuff was they really were the ones that started the banks during that time. You're forbidden under Christianity to be a usurer, to charge interest on money lent.
Good. Money lenders. Usury.
Yeah, exactly. And Jews did not have that.
Jesus was a Marxist.
He was. He overthrew the money changers in the temple. The Jews were all about that. And so they started the original money lending, the early banks in Europe. And I guess it got to a certain point in like the 1500s where a lot of the monarchs needed money. So they just took all the bank's money and kicked the Jews out.
I don't even believe in Jews. I don't even think they're a real race. They don't even make sense.
Yeah, you look at somebody like Norman Finkelstein, the way he looks, the way he talks, just suspicious.
Why are they so funny to us normal humans?
To gain our confidence, because it puts us off our guard, and they know that. So that we must learn to.
We'll take over the world with comedy. First, we make the loans.
Yeah, I've ordered a copy of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, and I'm wondering, you've heard of that, right?
I've heard of it, yeah, from Finkelstein.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. So I'd always heard about it. I don't know. I was listening to something that got brought up. Oh, I was listening to somebody talk about the Jewish question in the light of Kanye, his whole outburst. And somebody was pointing out that sales of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion have skyrocketed like over the past 2 or 3 years. Like there's not a lot of people that are printing the book, but of the ones printing it, they're selling out quite a bit.
What is it? What's the gist of it?
It's a forgery. It's not real, but it was a book written, I think, like the late 1800s. It was first published in Russia, and it purports to be the minutes of a meeting of the elders of the Jewish people and how they're going to take over Europe, essentially. They're going to get control of the media. They're going to get control of the money. These are the little tricks we're going to do to get people off their guard. And it got published by most likely some Russian early disinformation organization to gin up support for right-wing causes, because they were linking the Jews with the leftists and the communists at the time. But yeah, so apparently it's just like the mother of all Jewish conspiracies, certainly in Europe. Like I said, I haven't read it, but what I was hearing about it was like when you read through it, like you see all the big conspiracies, all the language that you hear about. It really just all originated from that book.
Interesting. I say let them take over, dude. They're hilarious. I mean, they're thrifty. Let them take over. Fuck it. What's wrong with Jews?
I don't think there's anything wrong with Jews. I've been thinking about converting myself.
Yeah, if there is a master race, it's not fucking white people. It's probably Jews, man.
Yeah, we'll change things up. Let them run things. See how it goes.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah, I showed you a picture of my foot, didn't I? I freaking dropped a 25-pound plate on my foot, dude, from like 2.5 feet in the air.
Ugh.
And I didn't know I had dropped it, so it just out of the blue just smashed my whole foot, dude.
Oh, you didn't even have time to like.
I didn't know it was coming. That's what made it so bad, dude. It broke like all my toes. It fucked me up pretty bad.
Did you go to the doctor?
I went to the Dr. Kratom.
Back on the K train.
Yeah.
There's got to be a name for being on Kratom.
Having high blood pressure.
Yeah. Having high blood pressure with the green mud.
I can't find that white Ming Da that I used to get back in the day, man. It's just not as good as it used to be. I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah, I get yellow Vietnam. I've had it for forever and ever.
They didn't even have yellow back when I first started. I feel like. Maybe they did. I don't know.
There's only a handful of sites that carry the yellow Vietnam, but it works for me. I like it quite a bit.
Is it really from Vietnam? I think it's all marketing.
I don't know. I think it is. Yeah.
I'd buy it if it was from Vietnam, just to support the Viet Cong.
That's who it is. It's a bunch of old guys missing legs. Yeah. And they're out there like climbing trees, a bunch of 70-year-old dudes climbing trees, getting leaves down.
All the kratom is like contaminated with fucking Agent Orange and shit.
Yeah. To give the Americans high blood pressure. Yeah, they call it Ho Chi Minh's revenge right here.
What are we going to do? Jordan Peterson? I haven't heard anything from him in quite some time.
You just haven't been listening because he hadn't stopped talking.
Huh.
This is going to be a really narrow video.
Think about that. I mean, we split off from lobsters about 350 million years ago, and they still live in dominance hierarchies.
They do still live in dominance hierarchies.
They do. That's what I've heard.
Lobsters are very sophisticated.
And we should replicate lobster dominance hierarchies. Which apparently they don't even live in those hierarchies like the way he portrays it.
No, it's total bullshit. That's complete bullshit.
Which actually does go directly into what this little segment's going to be about. The way Jordan likes to answer questions and the way he likes to speak with a lot of authority on subjects, but it's often just rambling, infused with his political and social narrative.
He's good at talking.
He's not good at saying stuff. He's good at talking.
He's not good at conveying thoughtful ideas.
He's not trying to convey thoughtful ideas. He's trying to
sound like is.
Yeah, to sound like it, to give the impression that I guess that's it. The impression that he's conveying thoughtful ideas.
Yeah, he's a political impressionist.
That's it.
On an unrelated note, have you seen The Lobster, the film?
No. What is it?
It's called The Lobster. It's one of these artsy films, but it's actually really it's like an indie film, but it's really good.
Oh, is this the Olivia Wilde thing?
It's very different, very unusual, but very good.
Is it about Jordan Peterson?
No. It's like, I don't know what to compare it to. Maybe like fucking, it reminds me of like 1984 or something a little bit. Or films in that genre.
Oh, is it Colin Farrell and Rachel Weisz? In a dystopian near future, according to the laws of the city, single people are taken to the hotel. Is this it?
Cool. Yeah, cool movie. You should watch it when you get a chance. It's a short film.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Artsy stuff.
I like artsy stuff. I'm an artsy guy.
The Suspiria remake is awesome. Anyway, I completely devolved the podcast into a tangent. Sorry about that.
Yeah, all good. I was getting ready to start talking about movies.
I was getting ready to start cooking lobsters.
Yeah, okay. So, Jordan Peterson. So this is going to be a really narrow conversation about a particular clip from a Jordan Peterson video that he did recently. So I kind of first made aware of this video. It's a conversation that he's having with a Muslim fellow. And there was one particular exchange that I was initially went into trying to find. And as I began kind of skimming through the video to find that segment, there was so much to talk about. The entire video it's really just rife with like these Petersonisms. So I've got an example. We're going to just really do a deep dive on it. And we'll talk a little bit about the validity of the arguments he's making, but also the way he goes about answering or purposefully not answering the questions.
Misdirecting, most likely, knowing Peterson.
Yeah. So I've listened to a lot of religious debates and discussions over the years, from the kind of the top guys to a lot of the unknowns. Peterson's level of discontinuity of thought, his ability to not answer a question when taking all the time in the world to answer it, and kind of his propensity to negate his stated principles in his own answers is really just unparalleled. And I mean that without any hyperbole.
If Jordan Peterson in a debate is like, if you're talking to somebody on the street and then in the middle of the conversation, they just fucking walk off. Like, that's what he does with the conversation.
It really is. It's self-aggrandizing is a word that comes to mind when thinking about how he talks in debates. So anyways, this video, the conversation broadly is about establishing a dialogue with Muslims. There's a Muslim gentleman speaking to Peterson. His name's Muhammad Hijab, which seriously sounds like a fake name. It's like Team America.
Muslim McMuslimson. Yeah.
Yeah, so and Hijab, he's basically just he's a polemicist and apologist for Islam. He spoke with Peterson in response to his Daily Wire video, Message to Muslims. Jordan apparently has taken it upon himself to heal the millennia-old friction between Christendom and the Islamic world. It's the typical masturbatory crap undertaken by someone with an overinflated sense of their own self-importance and the originality of their arguments.
Listen to me, brown people. I will show you the way.
It really is like that. You know, he's such a snazzy dresser these days, and he just sits back with his professorial tone, just explaining to the Muslims and to everyone else what the problem is, why there's been all this discord between these two great centers of knowledge. And
as much as he's been talking lately about like Western culture and all that shit, man, this can't be good.
All right, so we'll start this off. We're just gonna play it. Muhammad Jihad.
Just call him that. That
works. Muhammad Jihad is just all right. So he's gonna go ahead and just ask the question to set it up. Then we'll talk about it. And we're gonna play little bits at a time. And this will just be like continuous stop, start, stop, start.
Would be to you, don't you think? Is it of any benefit to be concessionary in this regard? Like to start off a discussion by saying, like, we know that these are things that could cause resentment.
Yes.
Right? Because, like, for example, I know a lot of Algerian people, and this is very clear in their historical memory.
Yes.
And the accusation would be that the West have colonial amnesia here. They are not taking into account what they've done. I'll be honest with you.
Okay, so starting off, the question Muhammad Hijab is asking is, when having a dialogue with Muslims, is it advantageous to have a conciliatory tone or to kind of acknowledge the history of Western Christian colonialism regarding the history of their interactions? So Hijab is specifically talking in this particular clip about having a discussion with like the people of the people of Algeria, trying to have dialogue between Christians and Muslim Algerians, and not acknowledging the historical background of French colonialism in Algeria and the subjugation, kind of the colonialization that occurred under.
They had fucking concentration camps, I think. It was horrible.
Yeah. It was a pretty messed up, one of the worst examples of European colonization, certainly in the Muslim world. Not nearly as bad as like in the Congo with the Belgians under King Leopold, but pretty bad. But yeah, so that's the question. Like, if you're trying to create a dialogue with the Muslim world, is there any point in getting into what could potentially be a tit for tat of, well, your people did this in this place in this time, and your people did this in this place in this time? But it's a fairly straightforward question. So I don't know. How would you answer it, James?
Rephrase his question again? Is this he's asking Peterson this question?
He's asking Peterson this question when trying to have a dialogue about peace between Christians and Muslims and drawing on a shared set of values. Is there any validity in going back and addressing injustices and horrors and violence that occurred between the two groups a couple hundred years ago? Or should the conversation just be based on from now going forward? Or should there be any sort of trying to recompense or acknowledgement of I guess apologizing for or making amends for things that great grandpa did?
Well, grievances, right? There's grievances that maybe don't affect Peterson and Muhammad Jihad here, but they affect the people on the ground. They remember this shit. They live. I'm just thinking of like the Palestinians and the Israelis, right? The Palestinians are living with the consequences of that history. The history is the reason things are the way they are now. Of course, you have to take all that into account. That's like saying we need peace between, Iran and the United States. It's like, well, there's a history there that you have to take into account. People remember that history, just not in this fucking country.
Okay, yeah. I think that'd be like roughly what my answer would be. I would I think have my response be dependent on, I guess, who I was talking to. I mean, the average person, you kind of have to, if they're still experiencing the effects of colonization, and certainly countries are, there's, countries today that still haven't recovered from things done 200 years ago, then you would kind of almost have to address that. But if you're talking to like an apologian like Muhammad Jihad, then, I guess it wouldn't be that important. But let's see how Peterson answers it, what his response is.
Yeah, well, they don't even know how. Well, okay. So,
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, look, here's how I would address that psychologically. In many of the mythological stories that I've read, there is the motif of the evil uncle. And so, for example, in ancient Egyptian cosmology, there were four central deities, although a host of associated deities, and one of them was Osiris, who was the deity of the state. That might be a good way of thinking about it. And he had an evil brother, Seth, who was always conspiring in the background to overthrow the state and to establish his own rules, say, based on power. And the Egyptians...
Okay, so the first section of Jordan Peterson's non-answer, he goes into a creative reinterpretation of the Egyptian myth about Osiris and Seth. And this is pretty obviously to make his kind of tired political points.
He brings up the state. What does the state have to do with fucking ancient Egyptian goddamn...
He says that the Egyptian god Osiris is a representative of the state. Yeah, so Osiris is the god of many things.
The dumbest thing I've ever heard, though. It doesn't make any fucking sense, dude.
Osiris is the god of fertility. Osiris is the god of agriculture, the afterlife, the dead, resurrection, vegetation. He's the god of order, the order of nature, you might say, kind of birth, life, death, continue thing. There is no, and I looked, because that was initially what stood out to me. I looked, there is no interpretation, there is no scholar that says that Osiris is the god of the state.
The state is a modern invention, of course not.
But obviously, so what Peterson is going into is he's trying to make a political point behind this and link it to his own ideology that, Osiris is order and Seth is the person against this order, against the state, and they're working in the background with their cynicism and malice to overturn the state, to push back against the state, to push back against the hierarchy and the...
Create chaos.
Yeah. Rewind it just a hair.
You can't even have a conversation anymore without trying to, launder right-wing fucking talking points through it.
Yeah, that's really what it all comes down to.
He's so red. Why is he so red in this video? Is it just the jacket making him look red, or is he actually this fucking beat red already in the conversation?
I don't know. Maybe he started taking kratom for the, to help with the benzo withdrawal. I remember when I first started taking kratom, I would flush really hard. I don't do it anymore. It used to be pretty bad.
Yeah.
All right.
overthrow the state and to establish his own rules, say, based on power. And the Egyptians, this is thousands of years ago, had figured out by that point, because their society was quite large, that there was something in the social structure itself that posed a threat to the structure, and that was the tendency for the structure and its leaders to become will.
Did you notice anything?
He's doing a lot with his hands.
All right, hang on. Is
this some Illuminati shit? Did he just do the Illuminati thing?
All right, so as I was watching this, Peterson did something that it really stuck out to me. As you were pointing out, his hand movements are all very sporadic and random normally. There's like a lot, like he's typing on an invisible keyboard almost.
His subconscious is showing through.
Yeah, but when he's talking about social structures, in the abstract, he uses this very distinct hand movement. In this case, it's a triangle. And so this reminded me of just video I'd watched a very, very long time ago. Do you remember the Joe Rogan Questions Everything?
Yes, of course I do. He should have made that a little later and included COVID in there, huh?
Yeah. Okay, so this is Banachek. I don't know if you remember him. He's a famous illusionist and mentalist, but we'll watch this real quick.
And listen to me, all right? And I want you all to think of two different simple geometric shapes, okay? One inside the other. Okay. Like a square with something else, but don't use a square, everybody does. Two different simple geometric shapes, okay? One inside the other. You got it? Good. Mm-hmm. How many of you are thinking of a triangle with a circle? Raise your hand. Okay, the majority. Keep your hands up, though. How many of you at least got the triangle? Raise your hands as well. And how many at least got the circle? Raise your hand, okay? Everybody raise their hand, keep them up. So that's everybody in here. Now let me explain what just happened. The reason I got almost everybody, and probably everybody at home, is this. I used verbal and nonverbal communication. First of all, verbally, I said, I want you to think of two different simple geometric shapes, and that puts you in the simple shapes. The most common one selected is a square. But I said, don't choose a square. But then I had you look at me as well, and this is what I did. Watch my hands, okay? Watch my hands. I said, I want you to think of, I don't know, two different simple geometric shapes, one inside the other. Like a square.
Wow. I've seen this so many times, I think, that it just, I remember it when it happened, so, but yes, this is some Darren Brown type shit.
So is that what Peterson's done? Like I think he may be. I think this is, it's either like you were saying, it's a subconscious showing through, or he's doing it intentionally. But either way,
he's a psychologist, man. He's subtly trying to turn everyone into authoritarians.
He knows. So obviously he's talking about the structure of society, and he's, this is his big thing, right? It's hierarchies, and he's wanting to tell you that there's a reason the hierarchy is the way it is. It's a triangle. There's a very few on the top, and there's a broad base on the bottom. This is his whole shtick. Was it 20% of people produce 80% of the product? 20% of the people have 80% of the work. That's why there's 20% of the people have 80% of the wealth, because those are the most productive people.
That's the other way around. The 20% doing all the work are not the ones making all the money.
Yeah.
Somebody should be at the top to control, at the very top, to control all this stuff. They should be at the top. I can't do it because up there, way at the very top.
At the very Yeah, no, I certainly think this is intentional.
Jungian shit here, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, he's tying in the Jungian archetypes and stories being replayed across generations and being universal to, I guess, anything that happens, and then throwing in the little subliminal messaging by letting you know what power structures are.
Do you think he got hired by the CIA at some point, and that's why he started acting like this?
No, I think worse. He got hired by Ben Shapiro.
Which one is more dangerous to the public?
That would be an interesting question. Who is more dangerous? Is it Ben Shapiro and his fracking billionaires, or the CIA?
Yeah, depends on if you're Latin American or not. I think.
Yeah. If you're a Latin American farmer, it might be the CIA. Yeah. But for everybody else, once fracking destroys the environment, we're kind of all screwed. So it might be Ben Shapiro at this point. Way to go, Ben.
He does control all the Jews, so.
He is the Pope of the Jews. Yeah. All right.
Willfully blind, and for conspiratorial powers or patterns that would use resentment and the desire for power to overthrow that. And they thought of Osiris as willfully blind and Seth as an eternal danger, and that's true. But there's another element to the evil uncle too, which is that in some real sense, and it's a very difficult thing to sort through morally, all of us walk on blood-soaked ground because human history is.
What does that have to do with the evil uncle he was talking about, though? It's true, but.
Yeah, absolutely. I also just wanted to point out the language he was using. Is a lot of this subliminal, or I guess it would be subliminal messaging going on. I imagine he's relating Seth, the god of disorder, the god of chaos, trying to take down the state, and keeps referring to that they're trying to overthrow this hierarchy due to their resentment and their desire for power. The forces that are at work that are trying to move against and are pushing back against these traditional power structures or the hierarchies, whether it be the state, religious institutions, this disposition of economic power. It's not about a desire to change those things. It's not about a desire for equity or anything else. It's all done out of a resentment for that power and a desire to have it for yourself.
They're just evil and jealous, those poor people who want a bigger share of the pie.
Yeah, and this has absolutely nothing to do with the question that he was asked so far. He's just went into his Jungian archetypes spiel and started peppering it in with all this leftist. Anybody that pushes back against traditional social structures is, angry, resentful.
What does that have to do with, anything about this conversation?
Yeah.
Who he's talking to or the discussion at hand? What does it have to do with any of it? I don't get it.
It does. Okay, but he does go into the part two of this. He goes into the idea that we all walk on blood-soaked ground, kind of going back to the original question that was asked by Muhammad Jihad. all people walk on blood-soaked ground, obviously. Different peoples that have lived in traditionally Islamic lands have perpetrated their own evils against a number of other groups. As a, I guess, psychologist, you should understand that doesn't negate the evils done against them. You know, what the Muslim rulers of Algiers did to the Nubian and sub-Saharan peoples of Africa in the 1700s was atrocious. That doesn't mean that they should have to overlook or should inherently expect them to overlook the horrors of the French against Algeria in the 1800s. Jordan goes on babbling at length about different European groups that have had bloody colonial past and kind of hemming and hawing about their relevance to the conversation, whether they were representative of the society as a whole, such as the conquistadors, or whether they were a small group of the worst kind of people that gained a disproportionate amount of power for that point in time and should not reflect the broader society they come from. Now, I think this part of it actually is like kind of a perfectly valid argument, but it's really not he once again, he never really answers it. He just kind of uses a bunch of...
this is just storytelling. This is bullshit fucking storytelling. There is no material analysis here whatsoever. This is just like, it's great man of history. It's bullshit. It's just a bunch of bullshit short storytelling. Nonsense.
In some regards, a nightmarish catastrophe. And some of that's just because life was so difficult, but it's also because people did in unbelievably cruel and malicious and deceptive, committed unbelievably cruel and atrocious and deceptive acts. And so we're all stuck with this problem that here we are in relative peace and harmony so far, although we seem to be doing everything we can to try to disrupt that at the moment. And part of the price that's being paid for that is an endless litany of historical catastrophe, and then we all have to face up to, well, what does that mean for us in terms of our individual responsibility, and how do we construe ourselves and our society in light of that fact? And we could go back and forth continually about whose historical atrocities were worse, and that's a rough contest because, you know, the devil is definitely in the details there. And then it also brings up the other problem, which is, well, when the Spaniards went to Central America.
Yeah, so he goes to that whole point. What's the point of this entire video? I'm not quite sure. Other than to say, I guess what we've kind of already touched on, you know, Jordan, he's bitten off a lot to chew. He's kind of masquerading around as this public intellectual in a large number of spheres. You know, he talks about politics, economics, history, religious apologia, and all the multitude sub-branches of each of these subjects. He knows enough of the keywords to get by in a discussion, but it's apparent he doesn't really have a deep understanding of any of these subjects. I'm proposing that's not the purpose of any of these conversations. You know, his entire gig, certainly since he joined the Daily Wire, is just infusing every subject that he pretends to know about with his social message for his audience of impressionable people looking for a father figure. Big emphasis on the impressionable part. Yeah, like in this discussion, he just kind of rambles through this stream of consciousness, disconnected thoughts that he draws vague lines between, that he's peppered with the language of his true message. You know, left is bad, left is Seth, left is chaos, disorder, resentment, and that the left is subversive, or that the enemies of the hierarchies and these old social structures are antithetical to, I guess, the West broadly, the West in general, and kind of our collective way of life and order to society.
I get the impression when I watch these discussions between Peterson and these like intellectuals or whoever he talks to, I always feel like the people involved in these discussions come away from the conversation like, what the fuck was that guy's deal? Every time. He didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. And then all the Jordan Peterson fans are probably like, that was a great discussion. Wow, I got so much out of that. Like just two completely different worlds.
And it's gotten a lot worse recently. So you have people like Muhammad Jihad, who he's a fair, I guess he's prominent in a very narrow spectrum of people that are concerned with what he's talking about. And
is he a right-wing Muslim or what's his deal?
I honestly, I don't know. Yeah, he's somebody that goes around and talks with people that I think he's an attention whore. Well, he just did an interview with Andrew Tate. Apparently, Andrew Tate just converted to Islam. But he finds prominent people that are talking about Islam, Muslims, whatever, and then goes and has a sit down with them.
Uses his identity to...
Yeah, so he can get some clicks. Right. But yeah, certainly that's what he's doing with Peterson. You know, Peterson's just a big name. I'd do it any day of the week. I'd love to do a video with Jordan Peterson.
I wouldn't. I mean, I would just to post it on our channel, but at the same time, he's just going to fucking say what he's going to say. It doesn't matter what the conversation is supposed to be about. He's going to go on his spiel about fucking hierarchies every time, couched in some different analogy.
But see, that's like, we've watched enough of these videos. We're aware enough. You don't think you'd be prepared and be able to stop him and try to pin him down on something, try to focus the conversation enough to where you could get something actually out of him?
No way, dude. I mean, these guys are dipshits. Like, for example, Jordan Peterson or somebody like Tim Pool even. Like, if we had Tim Pool on our show, he'd probably handle us because he's good at what he does. If you watched any of his debates with real intellectuals, he's very shifty and he very studiously avoids answering questions, direct questions. So we could ask Jordan Peterson, like, what do you think about the Israel-Palestine thing? And he'd go on some fucking tangent about how the Palestinians are bad because they eschewed Western values and they tore down the hierarchy or some nonsense like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I know Peterson recently did an interview with Kyle Kulinski. Kyle's certainly not the best on a wide range of issues, but he was prepared for the interview. He's aware of Peterson, the way he operates, the way he does what you were just saying he does. There was a couple things he was really able to pin him down on it and get some kind of shocking answers out of him by doing it. By just, hey, no, you're not answering my question. This is very specifically, we're kind of going off on a tangent right here, and I need you to answer.
Yeah, I saw that. He did okay. I think for Kulinski, I think he did a pretty damn good job.
Well, yeah, he really narrowed him down on the trans issue.
Jordan Peterson is very careful about who he does that with,
Oh, certainly now, yeah.
I'm surprised he went on Kyle's show. But Kyle's not super threatening. He tries to be pretty agreeable in general. Did Peterson post that on his channel? Do you know? He must have, right? He wouldn't avoid clicks just because they make him look bad, would he?
I don't know. Because I don't think he can look bad to his audience.
Right. Or he just cuts out the parts where he looks really bad or whatever, which Kyle had kid gloves on for that interview, in my opinion. And Jordan Peterson was getting really fucking mad anyway.
Yeah, he talked about it afterwards, and he said like he was really only trying to get him pinned down on a couple things, and then after that he said that like after he got his answers on the trans issues, I believe was the one he really pushed a little harder on. He kind of backed off of him because he didn't want to get him pissed off and make him leave, and I guess was hoping he'd be able to get him back at some point.
Yeah, at least make him stay for the full interview. What's the name of Kyle's show?
Secular Talk. So
Kyle's name didn't pop up when I searched his channel. I don't see the video on here, dude.
Oh, I think it's on. Actually, no, it's on. Shit, what is it?
The Daily Wires thing.
No, Kyle and Crystal Ball have that podcast now, and it's on. It's like a Substack thing. I think that's what it was actually for. He put some clips of it on Secular Talk.
She's way out of his league. Russell Brand and Jordan Peterson, huh? That's got to be a fucking riveting conversation there.
Could you imagine? I haven't listened to that. I could only imagine how much nonsense, how much both of them just love the sound of their own voices so much. And they love that pseudo-intellectual just bullshit. I don't know. Oh, Jesus Christ.
I might eat some edibles and watch that one because it'll be funny to me. I might enjoy that one quite a bit. He's got David Rubin on here. He's got all these guys, but he doesn't have the Kulinski. Lawrence Krauss, boring ass fucking guy. Another Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin is that he needs to stay in that lane. That's the lane Jordan Peterson belongs in. Dave Rubin, fucking Tim Pool lane. He can't hang with like he can't hang with the Ben Shapiro's.
Yeah, no, he's just too boring. He was so that was another Bill Maher. I've listened to 2 Bill Maher podcasts. Both of them have been absolutely atrocious. I used to love Bill Maher. What was it back in like
Religulous was awesome.
Religulous. When he was going after Bush really hard, he was hitting Obama pretty hard. I guess in the early days, he was fantastic. Yeah, it's just I went and seen him twice actually in concert. Seen his show twice. It was
the stand up.
Yeah,
was it good? I thought a stand up used to be okay.
It was, so the first time it was good. Then I went a couple years later. Basically, if you watch the show, you've already heard all the jokes. Like, probably 3/4 of the jokes that he did in the show were just new rules that he was repeating kind of word for word. It was a little disappointing because I watched the show, and so I'm sitting there like, oh, I already know all these punchlines. This is pretty fucking awful. You need to have original shit, buddy.
Stand-up comedy sucks these days, man. I watched Fluffy's new Netflix special, and it was okay, but then he did like 20 minutes of his old shit. And all of his jokes were rich people jokes. Like, I don't want to hear the stand-up comedian after they got rich talking about flying planes and all this type of nonsense, staying in hotels and shit. Like, fuck off, dude.
My daughter is a huge George Carlin fan now.
Yeah, Carlin, there you go. Hicks.
Yeah, I introduced her to Hicks a couple weeks ago. We watched some little clips of his, and yeah, she loves that shit.
Yeah, you watch those guys prior, and you realize that everybody else just steals from those guys. They began and ended stand-up comedy, really. Everybody just steals from them.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that.
What the fuck were we talking about anyway?
Jordan Peterson and Russell Brand.
Oh, goodness.
But yeah, no, that was the whole thing. It wasn't a big long clip. His answers, I think they're just so telling. When he goes to answer something, you see, I think, what his motives are, both explicitly and implicitly, and consciously and subconsciously. He's very focused since he's joined the Daily Wire.
Yeah, well, the thing is, he's a psychologist. He probably knows a lot about like psychology, which nobody cares about and isn't really relevant to most people. So he can't speak intelligently about anything else. So he has this formula that he goes by, and it's political ideology that he's been paid to promote, basically.
Yeah, and that's what you notice too. Like, he's not talking about, whenever he gives the illusion of talking about all these different subjects, but he's not really talking about any of them. You know, yeah. It's all his political ideology, just with the dressing of talking about, you know, historical religious grievances or economics or lobster biology.
It's just a look. He just has a really cool look, man. Imagine Lula, but with Peterson's look. That would be so sick. Like, his look and his voice and mannerisms. He'd fucking take over the world. The problem is these guys, they get paid to go to the right.
Yeah, they get paid big money.
A college professor, man. He's a class traitor.
He really is. I think he's just a contrarian, and he lives, you know, his world. And I find it so fascinating because he talks about, you know, his whole thing that he started on was, you know, these college kids, these college professors, you know, they just kind of live in this segregated, this secluded, sequestered world where it's not the real world. You know, there's a certain level of being sheltered, and it creates this echo chamber. And, you know, he's just as much a product of that as anybody. And I think he's
way smarter than them. He was able to escape the thought bubble, Tony.
Oh, yeah.
Break out with his intellect.
He fantasizes about, I think, people like me. People that have worked in a factory and have calluses on their hand. I mean, that's the epitome of the real man, right? Like, you work on your truck and you put in hard labor and you've seen this.
I would throw Peterson in the fucking gulag, man. There's something really disgusting about like, people who make it to the top and then start preaching about how the fucking hierarchy is necessary. Give me a fucking break. Say that shit when you're working in fucking, when you're working at Wendy's to feed your 8 kids, man. Then come talk to me about how good the hierarchy is.
Yeah, no, it's really disgusting. And the fact that he can convince people working at Wendy's and convince people working at a factory or at a Amazon warehouse to buy into this crap, that, you know, their problem isn't that the corporations they're working for, you know, treat them like slaves and pay them like crap, and, you know, they just need to clean their room, work a little harder, you know, stop being so resentful towards these authority structures. You know, there's a reason they're there. They're producing all the value. That's why they have all the power. That's why they have all the money. That's why they're at the top of the pyramid. And you know, you should look up to these people and not be resentful towards them, because you could be there one day yourself. And it's insidious. It's really insidious.
Yep. It's gross, man. Class betrayer.
Betrayal!
Here, we got something else to watch real quick. In the spirit of Halloween, Jordan Peterson just dropped that new hot shit.
Parents Lament, an ABC of childhood tragedy. Is this a film trailer?
It's a song based on a book that Jordan Peterson wrote a book, and then he wrote a song based on the book.
This is on his channel.
Yeah.
He doesn't sing, does he?
What in the world is the matter with you? Why must you do the bad things that you do? We are just working to clean up your mess. We are just striving to do what is best.
It hurts my ears.
You see, oh no, we won't.
enough of that.
That's pretty awesome. That song is as vapid as everything about Jordan Peterson. Like, what the fuck does any of that mean? First of all, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare of audio. Fucking just, it's like a cheese grater in my brain.
Yeah, well, you don't understand music. That's the problem.
I guess not. It's like jazz or some shit.
Yeah, no, it's. I guess what is it? It's like it's the average working man singing his lamenting to the wokesters that are taking over the top rungs of the power structure and telling them to leave them alone. Right? I guess that's what I got from it.
If the wokesters are taking over the hierarchy, tear that motherfucker down. Start from scratch. Or what do we do? We just kill the wokesters? We just like put them in concentration camps or something? What do we do with them? None of this makes any sense, dude.
No, none of it does. None of it does. I guess so. That's really what this is going to come down to, right? Whether we can throw them in the gulag before they throw us in a concentration camp.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And it's just
it's a race. It's a race. Yeah. That's what I always say, man. It's who's going to win in the end. That's all that matters. How you get there is fucking irrelevant. Democracy, who cares? How do you get there? That's what Lenin was all about, right?
Yeah, you can make all the problems caused by the ways go away once you get the means, right? Like once you get there to the top, any mess that you caused to take over the power structure, you'll just clean it up afterwards.
Right.
But you have to get there first to be able to clean up all that mess.
Yeah, why pretend that there's some sort of like higher purpose here? There's really not. I mean, fucking Hitler got in through, government legal means. He was
I mean, it is just power, right? It's all just power.
Ends justify the means.
I agree. So that's why me and DePape
Libertad o muerte.
Gonna burn this bitch down.
Hell yeah, man.
I'll talk to you Sunday. James, peace.
Have a go, man. Later.
Please forgive my presumption, if you would. It is time for those of you in the Muslim world to stop fighting among yourselves, you Shiites and Sunnis, and also time to stop regarding the Christians, and even more specifically, the Jews, as your enemies. Why?